In a move that sends shockwaves through global diplomacy, U.S. President Trump has ordered a full American boycott of the G-20 summit to be held at Johannesburg in South Africa on 22nd and 23rd November. No U.S. official, not even Vice President J.D. Vance, will attend. Now, President Trump offered an explanation for the boycott on his Truth Social account. In it, he accuses South Africa of human rights abuses against White Afrikaners, claiming that they are being killed and slaughtered in a so-called white genocide. Now, for decades, South Africa was controlled under apartheid rule by the country's white minority, many of them descendants of Dutch colonists. Apartheid, a system of legalized segregation, deprived the majority of citizens of basic rights and forced many black South Africans to live in ethnic Bantustans. The system of apartheid officially ended in 1994 with the country's first multiracial democratic election, which led to Nelson Mandela becoming South Africa's first black president. Now, 3 decades on, some white South Africans who make up a minority of the population say that they are unfairly targeted by a new law that allows the South African government to seize property in public interest, in some cases without compensation. The so-called land seizure policy, known as the Expropriation Act, became law in February. Now, President Trump has singled out South Africa for harsh treatment on this issue since he returned to the White House in January.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
Now, that was President Trump talking to journalists in February this year. For its part, South Africa maintains that such laws are meant to empower black South Africans as part of efforts to redress inequalities that they inherited from apartheid, and that it's only done in just and equitable circumstances and when it is in the public interest to do so. So, is this principled outrage or payback? Peel back the layers and this boycott reeks of deeper animus. It's not just one thing that has upset President Trump. His long simmering feud with President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa goes far, far deeper. Let me unpack the explosive backstory. It all started in 2018 during President Trump's first term in office. He tweeted wildly about a large-scale killing of farmers in South Africa, a claim debunked as right-wing fiction. South Africa defended itself by saying that farm murders affect all races and that they comprise less than 1% of the country's total homicides. Fast forward to May 2025, in a jaw-dropping Oval Office ambush, President Trump dimmed the lights and rolled a video montage showing South African opposition leader Julius Malema calling for violence against white farmers. The video included footage showing rows of crosses which President Trump claimed were from a burial site for murdered white farmers.
Lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? Do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not?
Both sides of the road, you have crosses. Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No. I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. But, okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa, this one.
But as it turned out, the crosses and the bodies came from a Reuters news agency's footage in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, not South Africa. A quick fact check by some media outlets exposed President Trump's claims of a white genocide on President Ramaphosa's watch. Now, President Ramaphosa, ever the statesman, stayed composed, pointing to white South African tycoon Johann Rupert and golfers Ernie Els and Retief Goosen in the room.
I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective.
But President Trump would have none of it. He persisted with his line of argument.
What would you like President Ramaphosa to do about the situation that we've just seen on the screen?
I don't know. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on.
In the month of May alone, President Trump offered refugee status to a first group of about 50 Afrikaners who were flown to the U.S. on a chartered plane. Although his government has slashed U.S. refugee caps to a historic low, he carved out a fast track for white Afrikaners. Critics call it a dog whistle to white nationalists. Even some Afrikaners themselves rejected the U.S. offer.
We are glad of the fact that there's more attention in regards to expropriation without compensation. We are glad that we are recognized as a people, but we don't want to be refugees in another man's land. We are thankful for the offer. We're not slapping away an extended hand, but what we are saying is we want to build here.
Now, President Trump's boycott escalates this personal vendetta into geopolitical warfare. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio echoed President Trump's call by skipping a G-20 foreign ministers meeting held some time ago. Apparently, he did not like the summit agenda's focus on diversity, inclusion and climate change. Why? Because diversity, inclusion and climate change are all code for anything woke in President Trump's book. But that's not all. South Africa's foreign policy under President Ramaphosa has been a thorn in President Trump's side. In December 2023, South Africa hauled Israel, a staunch U.S. ally, before the International Court of Justice, accusing it of genocide in Gaza. What did the ICJ say in its provisional ruling? It said that Israel must prevent Palestinian deaths and ensure that aid flows into Gaza. I should add here that the court issued this as a provisional measure. It has not yet made a final ruling on whether Israel has committed genocide, which is a process expected to take years. South Africa doubled down. It welcomed the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in May 2024. President Ramaphosa hailed it as upholding the rule of law. A furious President Trump retaliated by cutting aid to South Africa. This affected shipments of life-saving medical supplies, including HIV drugs. Remember, at more than 8 million, South Africa has the world's largest population of people living with HIV, making it a hub for research on the virus. President Trump has also taken issue with South Africa's some other foreign policies, including supporting the cause of the Palestinians. Now, what makes matters worse is that South Africa does not have full diplomatic ties with Israel. It has not had an ambassador in Tel Aviv since 2019, and in 2023, it voted to close the Israeli embassy in Pretoria. And then there's BRICS, the bloc President Trump views as an existential threat. South Africa joined BRICS in 2010. And in the last few years, it has turbocharged its ties with Russia, co-hosting summits and pushing for de-dollarization. President Trump fears that the BRICS will junk the US dollar for a multipolar world where America's veto power evaporates. President Trump, obsessed with preserving the US dollar's dominance, warned in November 2024 that any move by BRICS towards a common currency will invite a 100% US tariff. He didn't stop at that. He went ahead and slapped a 30% tariff on South Africa, the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. He also expelled South Africa's ambassador.
The issue has been not about the ambassador. The issue has been about how South Africa had taken Israel to the International Court of Justice. It's how South Africa has maintained its non-alignment in the world. It was South Africa's perceived position in BRICS. And I think it is South Africa's leadership in the G20. So I don't take this personally. I think that they found a pretext to deal with me.
For South Africa, which is chairing the G20 for the first time on African soil, it's a gut punch, but it fired back.
Bullied by the United States because of the size of our country and our economy, and because they're a superpower, they just bully us around. We must resist that.
A defiant President Ramaphosa insists that decisions on trade, inequality and sustainability will roll on without Uncle Sam. He told journalists in the coastal city of Cape Town that the summit will take fundamental decisions and that US absence is America's loss. He says that in many ways the US is giving up the very important role that it should be playing by virtue of being the biggest economy in the world. In his own words, they have chosen to boycott, and boycotting never achieves anything of great impact because decisions will be taken that will move the various issues ahead. Above all, the US boycott is all the more awkward because it will host the G20 summit at President Trump's resort in the city of Miami next year.
For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told them I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of South America. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of the world. But now the Democrats.
So, will President Trump's snub to Africa rally the global South, or will it fracture alliances further? And can India, as the voice of the global South, have a role to bridge the divide? Watch this space.